Swing Low, Sweet Chariot,
Mm-hmm.
Give Me Back My Glory,
Mm-hmm.
and Death Don't Have No Mercy.
Mm-hmm. Well, those were the three stages that I kind of remember the Rev in. You know, like I say, I remember him about my age now, and even then he was getting around just as good as I do now, and just, you know, by the time he was late 60s, there was a change, and there was a change in me as well. And then he started singing that song, Give Me Back My Glory, and I knew what he was talking about, you know, and it was around that time that I stopped playing guitar around him, because I was beginning to watch him slow down, and I watched myself speed up, and I wasn't like the rest of them. They would go around. I didn't. I went back to what had originally brought us together, a conversation. I just used to, I almost said talk with him, but I should say listen to him talk. And I remember him singing that song, you know, but by then it'll probably happen to me too. His fingers was weak, and, you know, but...
I think the best way to sum those tracks up, and you can hear how sincere Larry is about it, is to listen to them. Mm-hmm. It's a kind of difficult thing to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough and fortunate enough to be in here when he did it.
But you're right. You see, all these people out here talk about Reb, or even I've read about Reb, they're always talking about his playing. You see, I knew the man. The playing was thrown in for a bonus.
Ah.
You understand?
Yeah.
Like there's certain people know me, don't even know I can play guitar. Been knowing me for years. Now those are my friends. That's when you value somebody's friendship. You don't value what they do, you value them. What they do is a whole nother thing. This is the way you can judge friendship. If a person like you for what you can do, they don't really like you. They tolerate you. But if they like you for you can tell. I never forget, me and a friend of mine was walking down the street, and he's passed away now. He's another older gentleman. And I must have been in my 20s, hustling, but he was teaching me the streets, taught me a lot. Anyway, we were walking down the street one day, and I saw this old bummy guy laying in the hallway drunk and urinated on himself and all of that. And I said to my friend, I said, look at that old bum there. And he stopped me. He said, you know what? You see him there, but what you don't see is the road that took him there.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That's what, he didn't start out there now.
Yeah.
Right.
And ever since he said that to me, I changed my mind about a lot of things. When you see a disaster in a person's life, you might see the disaster, but what you don't see is the road that led to the disaster.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about.
We noticed that you did a lot of religious material.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed also learning the blues from older musicians, that they advance in the years and then they start playing religious material.
My answer to that is they from a religious background from the first place. Childhood, upbringing, mother, father. And what they did probably, and I can look at my own life and testify to that, they went out in the world, had their good time, what we call good time, but way back in their mind and in their heart and in their soul, they knew they were doing something wrong. Like me, I mean, all the things I've done in my life, and I've done some things, believe me. There's not much I missed. I knew I was doing something wrong, way back in there. And I could hear my father telling me, boy, I told you not to do that. I could hear the discipline that I had growing up. I knew it was there. And I knew somewhere within me the day would come that the Spirit would say, all right, I done bailed you out enough. I saved you from this, I saved you from that. You're on your own now. I'm going to see what you do. And when you reach that in life, you say, wait a minute. Now, if he brought me this far without praying, maybe I should start praying now and try to make the rest of the journey.
How about that?
If I made it this far and wasn't praying, maybe I got a chance. I will say a prayer every so often. So that's where you hear that. And that's in all the guys that lived the lifestyle of a blues man as we know it.
Everybody over here would know first as a bit of an Elvis Presley kind of thing because he made it popular and written by the great Arthur Crudup.
Right.
One of my favorites.
I met him in the 60s in Canada. And at the time I was drinking and smoking and he was. And we really hit it off as a friendship. You know, playing had nothing to do with it. And I had heard that record as a boy anyway when he had it out. So we talked about Presley doing it and all that, you know, and we kidded around as we would do about him doing that song. And he was such a wonderful person for me to sit and talk to, as I say now, one of the pioneers of the blues, although I knew Davis and the New York crew. And his song, after that meeting with him, I started singing it. And that's the version that I did here is my version of it. He never heard me play it because at that time I wasn't playing it. But
it's a fond memory for you.
It is.
Yeah.
It is because every time I play it, I see me and him sitting up under the tent drinking beer and laughing, and he telling me about the 20s and I always did love to hear those stories about the 20s and that time by somebody that was there.
Yeah.
I don't care to read it by somebody that wrote it, that somebody said it. Yeah. But if I can get a chance to talk to somebody that was there, I love those.
That's what I'm doing now, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
You mentioned the New York crew there. I think I should point out that the New York crew in Larry's case is people like Brownie McGhee and Sonny Terry.
The McGhee brothers.
Stick McGhee, who was a close friend of yours.
Oh, Stick, yeah. He was. I was closer to his age because the rest of them was a bit older. Well, old enough to be my father. But I would say Stick ways were younger. Yeah. He probably was too. Stick must have been in his 40s or so when I met him, or maybe older. But he didn't act it. And he took a liking to me as well. Actually, he showed me around Harlem because he was a cab driver.
Really?
Yeah, he was a yellow cab driver.
So even in those days when he was a successful singer, he was kind of still working and...
Yeah.
So it was kind of a part-time love thing.
I remember one incident. You know, it was he who had the drinking wine, Spodioti. And when he had money, he was a free-hearted type man. When he was tall, 6-footer, and kept himself neat, and that I like. Yeah. And he used to be in the cab, and if he made a couple dollars, he'd buy a bottle of wine and drive up in the neighborhood and open the hood up, open the trunk up, and pass out bottles of wine. He wouldn't just pass them out, but it'd be friends, people he knew.
He enjoyed the success.
He did. Yeah.
He lived the song.
He did. He did. He really did. Yeah.
You went into an intro. Michael and I looked at each other and this is my murder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's heavy stuff.
Well, that has to do with my marriage.
Ah.
Some people say I got murdered. I mean, I got married. I say I got murdered.
I think you got it right in your eyes the first time.
So it was murder to me. I mean, you got to remember, here I was a young man. At the time, I was 27 years old. And by then, I had begun to get lonely. I had been in New York 7 years by then. And I think loneliness had begun to hit me. It really did. It came down on my heart. And I met this young lady out of Greenwood, South Carolina. And she was a Southerner like me, so we had something to talk about on that level. But even she was trying to be a New Yorker on her level as well. I think now we both probably was attracted to each other, but then after we got married and the babies started coming, we saw, well, wait a minute. I always wanted it to work, but it didn't. Mentally, it was pretty rough. Yeah. If I hadn't had the experiences in other things, If that hadn't have been there, I don't think I believe I'd have self-destruct. And at the same time, I was being blessed by the Creator, but every time I would put my hand on the guitar, I would do something I didn't do before.